We are live. All right. So do you want to introduce
Yes,
this installment?
this is the first installment of
Old
our
time hockey.
podcast entitled Echoes from the Arena. At least that's our working title.
It's currently a working title.
It might change, but
Mhm.
as of now, that's our title. And we're going to do a series of uh, episodes on various sports. We're looking deep into the history of sport, not just in America, but around the world.
And why do we do that?
Pardon?
I said, why do we do that? And I
Why
have
do
an
we
answer
do?
for that.
Yeah, I just
Something
think
you
it's
always
very.
used to tell me.
I just think sport is really the drama of life of people's lives.
Remember, you used to tell me, man has to play.
Yes, that's true. I
And
forgot that, Matt.
that's always stuck with me.
And the sport has organized sport can be traced back to the ancients. Obviously the ancient Greeks and the Olympic Games and what have you.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's very much a part of the human condition.
It's a fabric of one of the fabrics of humanity.
Exactly, exactly. So we're going to start with a sport that's near and dear to both of us.
Oh, neither of us are Canadian, despite the
No,
fact that you're wearing a Canada top and I'm drinking Canada Dry.
there you go, just for tonight's show. We're going to talk about ice hockey, which dates back to the ponds of Ontario, I believe, and I believe the sport started around the 1850s. Uh, and obviously has grown into a international sport,
Hmm.
but it's very important in the game it's very important in Canada, although the official sport of Canada is actually
Is
lacrosse.
oh, is it lacrosse? Was I
Yes, it's
thinking
lacrosse,
curling or something?
but
That doesn't
obviously
surprise me.
ice hockey is very near and dear
Both
to
of
most
us.
Canadians, as it is to most Americans. But this series will be called, and we're going to do it periodically throughout the podcasts. It's called Time Hockey. And
And the first installment is going to be on Howie Morentz.
exactly, exactly.
I'll go through
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
a couple pieces of trivia on Howie. Born in Mitchell, Ontario in 1902. Not a very big guy, I'd say. Well, for that time period,
Right.
that may have been somewhat tall. 5'9", 165 pounds. So slightly shorter than me, but about the same size. Um, he did win, as we had discussed earlier today. He did win three Hart trophies: 1927, 1930, and 1931, all time that he played with the Montreal Canadiens. He put 13 years in the NHL.
Hmm.
He had a 140 goal season in 1929. He had one, two, three. He had five seasons in which he had, or well, correction, he had 8 seasons in which he had over 20 goals. Five of them, it was 20, two over 30 goal seasons and the 140 goal season. Um, but I think we wanted to discuss him because he was kind of the first superstar. This was the time in the game in which there were not very many teams. Games played maxed out here in a regular season at 44 or 48 for him in 1934, I should say. So that, they're playing twice as many games now.
Right. Right.
Uh, the league was much smaller. And I think the reason that he's interesting is because I wouldn't say he was in his prime when he died, but he died at the age of 34 from a broken leg, something that
Exactly.
does not kill people, um, at least not like it used to.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and we have a small connection to that as well, don't we?
Hmm. Yes, we do.
With Grandpa's us finding out much later on that Grandpa had a brother who died of a
Yes.
broken
Died of a broken leg.
leg.
Died of they called it blood poisoning in the day. which is simply a blood infection.
Hmm.
And as we get into the Howie Morentz discussion, then you'll see his cause of death is very much like what would have been my uncle
Would be your uncle, yeah.
passed from. Yes.
So he made his debut in 1923 with the Canadiens. Was an immediate impact player. Some pretty funny pictures on the internet of him.
Was it?
The guy looks 45 or 50, and he's
He
in his
does.
20s here.
Yeah, he
But
does.
that's his hairline was in full retreat early on. Um, they won three Stanley Cups with him, 24, 30, and 31, which is amongst uh, a few of many Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cups. Excuse me. Um, he was as I said, three-time Hart Trophy winner. He led the league in goals one time, though, 1928, and in points twice, 1931 and 32. And he was named to the NHL's first All-Star team twice and the second All-Star team once. So think of it like first team All-Pro, second team
Mhm.
All-Pro. And he's ranked 15th on the Hockey News list of 100 greatest players in 1998, included in the NHL's Centennial list of 100 greatest players in 2017. And that was Howie Morentz.
Yes.
What else do you know about Howie, Dan?
All right, a little bit about Howie's background. As you said, he was born in Mitchell, Ontario, which is on the shores of Lake Huron. As a matter of fact, Howie Lorenz or Morentz piqued my interest when we were headed up to that part of Ontario to play a hockey game with your sister's team, the Buffalo Bisons, and as we entered Mitchell, Ontario, there was a sign that this was the birthplace of Howie Morentz. And he did, however, as a child, move to Stratford, Ontario, because as he played and became a professional, he was known as the Stratford Streak,
Oh,
also known as the Babe Ruth of hockey. So that kind of gives you the idea of the impact that he had.
yeah.
When you looked at his skating style, if I could borrow from a player,
Hmm.
a modern player, a player he's no longer playing, but his skating style was very reminiscent of Aguila Flores. He had that it was kind of a choppy but a quick, very quick feet.
Is there video of him?
There is video of him. I
It's
believe
got
it
to be
might be
really
two. Yeah,
grainy and
yeah,
probably
it was very grainy,
sped
but
up, but
and it,
yeah.
it could have been the video that gave him the look, but of Gila Floor, but he was his skating style did kind of get me to think about LaFleur's skating style.
Well, having the C on his chest probably didn't hurt either.
Well, I didn't hurt either. No, I didn't. He was like you said earlier, he played the majority of his career with the Canadians and won three cups with them. He was drafted originally by the Blackhawks,
Mhm.
played a little while in New York before he
I think it was two seasons.
was 2 seasons.
One season.
Okay.
Not he didn't even really play a full season. He was either hurt or I'm not sure. Oh no, he was traded.
That was okay.
So he played a season and a half with the Blackhawks, and then half a season with the Rangers, and then went back to Montreal in 36, where he unfortunately sustained a very devastating leg injury. Um, he, I had read that had battled a deep depression at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
He was hospitalized, and they believe that he died from a coronary embolism,
Yes, exactly. Yes.
believed to be triggered by the trauma of his injury. Um,
Yeah, he was the way the injury occurred, just to add some more information regarding the actual
I don't
injury.
know anything about it actually, so this will be all
Well,
news
it
to me.
happened on January 28th of 1937. They were playing against the Blackhawks, and Morenz took one of his charges into the offensive zone. He kind of drifted off towards the boards, ran into a big defenseman by the name of Earl Siebert of the Blackhawks. They got tangled up. Morenz's left skate was caught in a rut in the ice, and Siebert fell on the leg, and that's what caused the compound fracture. And like you said, the he died March 8th in the hospital. He was recovering, actually, from a
Without,
medical point of view. He was recovering. However, like you said, he did die of a clot,
which
an
could have just
embolism,
broke off
and
at some point.
yes,
And yep.
and it was devastating, obviously, to the his family and to the Montreal Canadiens. As a matter of fact, his body laid in state at the old Montreal Forum at center
Mhm.
ice, where at least I got varying numbers, but at
Yeah,
least
what did you get?
10,000 people. I got 10,000 people paid their respects.
I got 50.
Well, I got 50. Yeah, I got 50 at the funeral. Now that might have been
Okay, no, that's what I got at the funeral, not at,
okay. I
okay,
got
yeah.
50,000 at the funeral, 10,000 plus at the wake. So as you can see, he was more than just a hockey player to that part of the country and that part of Canada. Um, in 1945, while the first Hall of Fame class was named, and he was inducted posthumously into the Hall of Fame that year. So he was one of the original members of the Hockey Hall of Fame. And
Hmm.
that's about it.
I got a little bit more on him.
Okay.
So the Canadians retired his jersey, number 7.
Okay.
It's the first time that the team honored a player in this way. So it was the first number um, retired by the Canadians. And then they established the Howie Morentz Memorial Game. So that game was held in November of 1937, later the year that he died. It
Mhm.
featured an all-star team facing up against an combined team of the Canadians and the Maroons, which was the other team in Montreal at the time,
Right. Right.
and that raised money for his family. Obviously, we wouldn't see like collective bargaining in the NHL for another 20 years.
Yeah.
So they didn't exactly have a retirement fund, so to speak. So his passing would have probably been pretty devastating to the family as well.
Exactly.
Just think about the time in the league. I know that collective bargaining didn't happen, I think, till the 50s, was it? Maybe even
Yeah,
the
I think there was a
60s. Bill
group, and I
Lindsay,
don't know. I don't know
Ted
the
Lin, was it Ted
players.
Lindsay or Bill? Is it
Well, I know what one of the ones that what was really, you know, started the ball rolling, so to speak. But so it was Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe? Yes.
But I do think Ted Lindsay was involved because Ted Lindsay was a teammate of Gordie Howe's. So I do think those players of that generation were the ones that,
Well, they drove that
the
forward.
driving force. Yeah.
Well, I think Lindsay is widely known as the driving force of that. And there's a movie about it.
Yes. Yes, there is.
I
There.
saw it, and I don't remember the name of it, but I saw it when I was in grad school.
Terrible Ted Lindsay. Yeah, getting back to Morenz and the reason I wanted to start our old time hockey series with him is because I want to kind of pinpoint along a continuum of the players that were generational type players that really, you know, changed the game of hockey and maybe pushed it in a
I
different
think
direction.
brings it to where it is now. Because
Exactly.
without these people, it wouldn't be where it is now, which still doesn't have as many eyeballs as I personally think it should have. But
Oh, I should have more.
I mean, we're both homers for hockey. So
Right, right.
that being said, I haven't watched a hockey game in 6 months, but that has more to do with our hometown team, I think, than anything.
Yeah, well, that's
And
that's
the
the
current
bottom line.
state of cable and the prices.
Yes.
Absurd. Um,
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of family trivia about Morenz, though.
Okay.
His daughter, Marlene, married Hall of Famer Bernie Geoffrion,
Oh, I did not know that.
and their son Dan played for the Canadians in 79-80.
Okay.
Dan's son Blake became a first fourth generation NHL player when he debuted with the Predators in 2011. Blake later played for the Canadians. So 4 generations. Um, he ended up spurring on.
Yeah, I did not know that.
I did not know that. Well, I didn't know much about Howie coming into this other than he played for the Canadians and he died of a
Yeah.
broken leg and he was good.
Yeah, and as we proceed through this continuum, again, we're going to be discussing like and you can add any other player that you want to too. But I think some of the key players would be again, like we just spoke about Gordie Howe.
Well, I
Uh,
think you'll bring in the guys that maybe were before when you were younger.
well, you'll know who
And
I'm going to bring in.
I know who you're going to bring in, but
Well,
then I'm going to also bring in somebody who
that's
played in my lifetime
that's what I
that
want you to
had
do.
a very profound impact on my love of the game of hockey.
Did he have wear number 99?
No.
Is he the guy? Okay, okay, it's
Mm-mm.
somebody else then. Or
He wore,
91? He wore
yes, he
91.
wore 91.
Okay, so first jersey we bought you, Maddie.
Yep, Sergei Fedorov.
Got that
And
from
completely changed the
Mike
revolutionized,
McConnell.
in my opinion, revolutionized the way that a defensive responsible forward should play.
Yep.
He was a dynamo in his when he was at his peak. He was incredible. But there will be time to talk about him at a
Yeah,
later
and
time.
we're gonna talk about numerous players who have changed the game for the better. Um, so it's gonna be a fun series. So
Mhm.
stick with us here.
Let me give me 1 second, actually. I can do something kind of funny here.
Okay, there he is
There he is.
in his
That is Howie.
Montreal Canadian kit.
You can see what I'm talking about with the hairline.
No, he's got the hairline.
Yeah, there it is.
Definitely got the receding hairline. And he was how old there? Was it
Well,
his 20s?
I don't know. He died at 34, so
He was young when he
he
died.
was
Yeah,
young.
so he couldn't have been much older than 30-ish, early
Hmm.
30s.
Yeah.
Well, that's the guy. Yeah, that's the guy who really I think was one of the first major stars of the National Hockey League.
So, let me see where are we at right now. Well, I don't know how to control how much time we've taken, but I'm sure the computer will let me know at some point.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next topic
Okay.
I wanted to talk about, which is why Gary Bettman sucks. He's such an idiot. Um, and just to touch on some of the stuff we talked about earlier today, I'm not even convinced he loves the game of hockey. I'm not even convinced he likes it.
Well, if you or maybe it's a fan thing because they did the same thing to Roger Goodell too, the fans I'm speaking of. Whenever Gary Bettman makes an
Booing
appearance,
him
he
every
gets
single
booed.
time he
He
shows
gets
up.
booed. He gets vigorously booed, even when he's bringing out the Stanley Cup. So, by the fans of the team that win the cup or won the cup. So
That should tell you
that
something.
tells you something. And he's not a popular guy. Yes. Um, I, you might be able to, you might know a little bit more than what I do, but I think his when he was when he was an associate of
David Stern.
David Stern with the NBA, I believe was he not involved more in the marketing aspect of the NBA?
Which is funny because he didn't do a very good job of marketing the NHL, if that was the case.
Well, he has it.
He hasn't done it really hardly at all. If anything, the game is
I still
never more
think
exciting, kind of, but also really not on the radar enough.
I still think the problem with the NHL, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if you have another side of this, that's great. But I think they still have an issue with their TV contract.
Oh, no,
We
I don't disagree with that at all, but
we have numerous networks televising games.
people don't know
However,
where to find the
well,
games.
that's the problem. A lot of the ESPN games are on ESPN Plus,
Hmm. Which I
and
didn't have up until a couple of weeks ago.
which sometimes a hassle. You're dealing with the internet.
Hmm.
The TNT, TBS are, okay. I believe some of the games are on ABC also.
Well, here's the
But
thing that pissed me off is when I was watching the Sabres, and that was, like I said, more than 6 months ago.
right,
Early in the season, it was okay. I could get some of the games on MSG. So I had Fubo and I was paying
right.
for that. but
Right.
some of those games are on TNT TBS. Some of them were on
Right.
ESPN Plus. I didn't get those games.
Right.
So it really never it stopped even making sense to get the to have that subscription at that. And then once they had their, you know, double digit losing streak, I said, thanks, but no thanks.
Well, the problem I have too is with ESPN, for example. I have the on my I have Xfinity here, so I have the center ice package.
Hmm.
It used to be when you had center ice, you would get either the home or the away feed. You could choose the feed. Obviously, being a Sabres fan,
You'd want to hear
when I
Rick.
was living in Georgia, I wanted to hear Generette. So
Mhm.
all was good. Now, in many cases, you go
You
to
get
the
one.
you get you have I go to the, for example, let's just say the Avalanche are playing. I want to watch the game with the Avalanche and the Kings. I go there, and all of a sudden that night it's only on ESPN Plus, which I
It's
don't
not in
get.
the center ice package.
It's not on the center ice package.
I don't
They
think that should be allowed.
they they default to ESPN Plus. I don't like that. If I'm paying, I want to hear. Be honest with you, I want to hear the local broadcasters, especially if there's
So
a
it
Canadian
defaults
team
to the
playing.
ESPN broadcast, but you still get the game.
You still get the game, yeah,
But you got to hear the
but you got to hear the
crappy
whoever's
announcers
doing
on
the game feed.
ESPN because and
Yeah,
it's not Gary Thorne and Bill Clement anymore.
no, it's not Gary Thorne, but Clement, and I like. I don't even know if he. I know
Bark,
Gord
Raymond
Miller. I
Bark.
like Gord Miller
Remember that?
on CBC or
Raymond Bark.
TS. So yeah, I think their TV contracts a problem. Um,
Mhm.
I think some of these. I'm gonna come right out and say it. I don't like the Panthers. I don't like
No.
their product. I don't like their organization. Their fan base is really squirrely.
How do
Yeah,
you
they're
root
all
for
there
them,
now
Bob?
because they're on the verge of winning, playing for the cup again. But
Another cup.
where are they in October and November?
Same place that I'm going to be next Sabre season, which is on my couch. May or may not be watching the game, depending on where they are in the standings. Which that is kind of a nice segue to well, hold on. You didn't answer my question originally.
What was that?
Does Gary Bettman even like hockey?
I would have my doubts. I would have my doubts.
I wouldn't bet my paycheck on it.
He likes his paycheck that he gets from the NHL, but I don't know how
Oh
much he
yeah,
really truly understands the roots of the game.
when you're a fucking hack and you get paid, it must be great. Like him.
Like you're like early today when we were briefing before we just before we went on the air. Although 10 years ago I had this idea. I was floating this idea. The ideal commissioner should have been. Unfortunately, now he's kind of up there in age and probably is not interested in it at the least. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, what do you think about Ken Dryden
Yeah.
being the commissioner of the National Hockey League?
I was
Cornell educated.
I thought you were gonna say Bobby Orr and I was gonna challenge you on that
Oh
because
no,
he's an
yeah, no,
agent. But
yeah.
Ken Dryden, yeah. I
Ken Dryden he was he was a studious guy.
Ivy League education, didn't
Yeah, he just, if you read his book, I forget the name of the book. I read it. I have it here somewhere, but he knows the game, and I just don't think Bettman appreciates the history of the game.
no. I don't think he does either. Can I just go on a quick jag on why I think
Hmm.
Gretzky sucks?
Hmm. Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with this politics. Um, you've heard me say this, and I think you know where I'm gonna go with this.
Hmm.
But Ovechkin just broke his record a few weeks ago.
Hmm.
I think if Ovechkin played in the area that Gretzky played in, he'd have 2,000 goals right now.
Most likely, yes.
Just a different league.
Hmm. No, it is.
Gretzky
Well,
played against plumbers. I mean, not literally, but it seems like figuratively a lot of stand-up goaltending, a lot of just goaltending that just wouldn't cut it in today's game. You're talking about, what were save percentages? What was a good save percentage in the 80s?
yeah, I
Trying to
don't know.
think like who
I don't
who
know.
who
I
was a
don't.
good goalie in the 80s?
I'm trying to think of a good goalie. I'm trying
We
to
had
think
one.
some of our
What was
goalies.
his name? What
We
was
had
his
Donnie
name?
Edwards was good.
No, 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 no.
Um,
Grant Fuhr.
Grant Fuhr, yeah. Grant
Let me
Fuhr
see
was
what Grant Fuhr's.
good,
Let me see what his
good
save
numbers.
percentage was.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and I could be completely wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat the crow. But
We could try with
I got him right here.
did what's his name? The Ranger goalie, Richter. Did he play in the 90s, right? He was in
Yeah,
the
he'd have been the 90s. I want like good 80s save percent. Yeah, okay, I'm right. Okay, so Fuhr played on some really awesome teams, those Edmonton teams in
he
the
was part of
80s.
that Edmonton regime, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll start in 83 when he played 45 games for the Oilers. His save percentage was 88.3,
Okay.
0.883.
Right. Okay.
His highest of the 80s was 0.89. 0.89 might,
Do you have other stats there or just Fuhr's?
I just have fears. Give me
Okay.
another goalie.
Billy Smith with the Islanders.
Smith, Billy. Well, Dad, there's a lot of Billy Smiths.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Um, let me see.
I would say his numbers would probably be, that's all right. I would say his numbers would probably be comparable to Grant Fuhr's, but he
Well,
was a
what
little,
years did he play?
he might have been earlier. He might have been 70s
Like,
because
oh, hold on, hold on.
he was
I
a
can
goalie
search
when
by
the
I can
Islanders
search by
won four
position.
straight
There it is. I
cups.
got him. He started in 67, played till 1988.
Okay.
Um, let's take a quick, not commercial break because we're about to run out of time on my end here.
Okay.
I'm going to send you something right back and we will
Okay.
continue.
So do I have to go to my email then?
Yeah, this is going to close. Go to your email and pop right back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Matt. See you in a few.
Okay. All right. There we go. Now we're back. We were talking about Billy Smith. Okay. Can you hear me, Ted?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I got you.
Billy Smith. So, he actually did get into the 90s.
Oh, okay. So he played a long
Yes.
time.
No, not, I'm sorry, save percentage.
Oh, the 90s.
He
Okay.
almost did get
Good.
into the 90s. His last year was 88, 89.
Wow. Then
Um,
he had a good save
he
percentage
had a
then.
good run. Yeah. So 74, he played 58 games, had a save percentage of .905, which is higher than anything Grant Fuhr had in the 80s.
Okay.
80s. And this is in the 70s. He topped out, his highest save percentage was 76, 77. He had a 916, which would put him on par with, maybe not right now, but I remember maybe 5, 7 years ago, that would be a pretty good save percentage now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But he only played 36 games that year. But in the 80s, he only had 1 year in which he was above .9.
That's kind of surprising for me because he was your stand-up goalie. He was your classic stand-up goalie.
Uh-huh.
I think you can attribute the fact that he was in the 90s was his defense core in front of him.
Yeah, he
With
had
Denny
one, two,
Potvin and
three. He had 4 straight seasons of 90 and above of at least 90% save percentage, but it was
mhm.
all in the 70s. Once you
Okay.
get to the 80s, and obviously an increase in scoring, but I also feel like an increase in shitty goaltending.
Mhm.
Um, his best year of the 80s was 82, where he had a .906.
Okay.
Everything else was, everything after that was, well, the next year, .896, and then it kind of fell off down to
Yeah.
879. So you're talking about, and then I pulled up, Vezina trophy last year went to Connor Hellebuck.
Right.
Connor Hellebuck last year had a save percentage of .925.
Okay. Okay.
That's a good 3 to 4 percentage points higher
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
your best goaltenders in the 80s, which, what, for every 100 shots that you take, that's 3 more goals.
But I
Four
do
more
think
goals, you know?
I do think you're critique of Gretzky is pretty accurate.
Yeah, he was great
Guys, for
for,
goaltending.
comparatively speaking, compared to his peers, he was excellent. I just feel like, today's best players would skate circles around everybody back
Hmm.
then.
Oh yeah, oh, yeah.
Now, we want to see some really silly stuff. Go and look at Dominic Hasek's save percentage.
What was his percentage?
His
Ooh,
his best year was the year we made the cup, 98-99, 0.937.
okay.
That's ridiculous.
And Dom had well, he was in the era of the butterfly era, but his
Uh-huh.
style was just totally unique.
And when I was looking at Billy Smith's stuff, it was you know, uh two shutouts, one shutout, no shutouts, two shutouts, three shutouts, no shutouts, one shutout. Hasek, it's uh as soon as he gets to the Sabres for a full season, seven shutouts,
Hmm.
five,
Yeah,
two in 95,
right.
five, 13 in 97,
Wow, wow.
13 shutouts. He had nine shutouts in 98, which was his best save percentage year. He had 11 again in 2000 in 67 games.
But just he was just a unique guy.
Just
I don't think shooters could have figured him out.
unbelievable ability to turn himself into a pretzel. And he had urgency to stop the puck
I remember when
at
he used
all
to drop the
times.
stick and
Yep.
use his blocker to punch the puck out of the crease.
Now it's illegal, right? You
You
can't
can't do it
drop your
anymore. You
stick.
can't drop your stick. Yeah, or you can't purposely drop your stick. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Well, they kind of took that away from Dom, but he was just he was in shooters' heads. He just was so good, so quick.
And like, what's the scouting department with the Chicago Blackhawks doing there?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe they
What are you
traded
doing? We're just gonna give him away for I don't even know who it was for.
as for
Was it Christian Rutu?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe. Let me
Because
show
for a
check.
while there, he was easily the best goalie in the world because he did win a gold medal. He won an
No, not
Olympic
for
gold,
him.
didn't he?
It was
He
Stefan
won it.
Beauregard.
Oh, okay.
And future considerations, August
Oh,
7th, 1992.
I don't even remember that guy.
I know the name. That's it. Yes, he won a gold medal with the Czech Republic in 98.
I
That
think it was 98. Yeah, it
that
was
was
98.
98.
Yeah, it was
This
98
was
because
that
they honored him in the
Nagano?
Sabres game.
Nagano. Yeah, because the U.S. had a they crapped the bed in that
Hmm. Hmm.
Olympics, and then we made the finals in '02.
Yep.
I remember, just as a quick aside, I remember watching the 2010 gold medal game at Dave's house, and it was U.S. Canada. And I
Hmm.
remember thinking there was a time in the overtime I don't think was very long, but I remember in an overtime thinking, I almost don't want us to win this game because I feel like we still had work to do to get to the top. And I didn't feel like we were there yet,
Hmm.
even though that team probably was better than that Canadian team.
Right.
I just felt like I didn't want the adventure to end of like climbing that mountain to finally knock Canada off.
Right. Right.
But now I kind of feel like, okay, I would be ready to beat them
Was
now.
Ryan Miller the goalie in that team?
Yeah,
Was he the starting goalie?
he was pretty much the MVP of the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good team. That wasn't that the year with the crazy shootout stuff? No, that was
That
earlier.
was in that
That
one
was
was
later. That was
that one was in
2014
that was in Russia.
Sochi.
PJ Oshie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that was in
2014.
Russia.
2014.
Yeah. But 2010 was Vancouver, the Vancouver Olympics.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is why the Sabres suck. It's so depressing.
$1 million question.
We
Well, we
wish
talked
we,
earlier today, and there's
probably a lot to
a
take
lot of
out of that.
theories, a lot of issues. Just don't. I don't put a lot of confidence in our GM. I just think it's funny because I was thinking about this, and like I said, well,
Mm.
we need a GM who has Stanley Cup experience and Ours does. He played on a
Played
Stanley
in one.
and won a cup against us, but I
Well,
just
then,
don't.
did you see that there was something one of the guys on uh, the local sports radio station said that if somebody doesn't register a point in the playoffs, should they still get their name on the cup? And I'm thinking that has to be the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Hmm.
And in a sea of stupidity,
Hmm.
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So you're saying that the checking lines
Hmm.
that do a lot of the dirty work in the
Hmm.
playoffs
Right.
shouldn't be recognized if they don't somehow happen to end up on the stat sheet? Are you kidding?
Well, that's
You're
someone
what
that
if you're a
doesn't.
defensive forward? Like
That's
your
someone that doesn't
entire
know the game
job
of
is to
hockey.
shut
That's
someone
yeah.
down, not to put the puck back in the net. Like, yeah, it'd be great, but if some guy happens to go the whole time, but he's a stellar defensive forward, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna give it
Well,
any
that's someone that
attention.
doesn't know the game of hockey because,
That's
as
what
we
it
all
sounds
know,
like
that
to me.
that checking line or that fourth line, whatever you want to call it, their biggest thing they need to do is just maintain.
Well, I would let me challenge
Yeah,
you
if
on
they
that.
score, great.
But let me
If they're
challenge you on that. Not maintain, keep momentum.
well,
So
that
like
too, yeah. Well, that's yeah,
chugging forward too, I
right,
feel like. So like you can get scoring chances and it's starting to tilt the ice. Now you're tilting.
right, right. Oh, but no,
But
that's ridiculous because everybody, even if you don't play in the game, even if you're not injured, but you're a scratch, you get your name on the cup, right?
I th I think you have to play in a game.
Oh, you got to play in the game.
You
Okay.
have to play in a game. Or you have to dress for a game. I don't know if
Yeah.
you have to play in it.
Yeah.
Like the backup goalie gets his name on there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He may never touch the ice.
Exactly.
So it must be
They usually
dressed.
don't
Must be
get the
dressed.
Stanley Cup.
No, if you're getting the Stanley Cup, you're avoiding getting your backup in that
Yeah, you're not really playing your
usually.
backup at all.
Um,
But no, I just think yeah, I just
the reason that I thought about that is because I thought about the year that Kevin Adams won the cup. I actually thought he was a pretty important piece of that team
he
because
was.
he did do a lot of dirty work. Just remember him doing a lot of work in the corners.
Yeah, yeah. Remember the star was Brendan Moore. He was the captain and
Barf.
the like you said, I think Kevin Adams was a important cog in that team. Um,
However, that does not translate to being great in the front office,
well, it
does
does
it now?
not. Certainly does not. Not every good player turns out to be a good GM or coach.
Now, whether he should have been put in that position, that's a whole other conversation, I think.
Well, I don't think he was ready for that. I think he's learning on the fly, but I don't see much improvement from year to year. So that kind of
Franchise like
scratches my head
ours
on
does
that one.
not have the luxury of learning on the fly anymore. You have
Yeah. Well, you
somebody
don't.
like me who's loved hockey for 37 years of my 42 years when I started playing when I was 5, and I
Hmm.
watched single digit number of games this year.
Hmm. I'm the same way. I'm just fortunate to be in a city right now that has a good hockey team. I mean, I was disappointed they went out so early and
Yeah, but
easily
they've won a couple of cups,
Florida. They
haven't
won
they?
a couple cups. Their compete level is through the ceiling. Great coaching, great front office. We talked about um,
How
one
you
of
put
their
a
players today that was a Sabre.
well, let's
And
bring them up because
we
we have a
could
little bit
not,
of time
we couldn't
still.
find a spot for him.
We couldn't find a spot, not just with the Sabres. We apparently couldn't find a spot in Rochester
Yeah,
for Brandon Hagel.
right.
Let me just pull up his statistics because
Who also was on
I
our,
want to get I'd like to get pissed off here about this because I
well, we
still think
didn't
it was
mention that
stupid.
he was also on the Four Nations Canadian team and played a role in that game.
So, if he did that, how is he not good enough to be a Sabre?
So, he's definitely someone that could be on the next Olympic team.
Okay, I was wrong. He was drafted in the sixth round.
Okay.
2016 entry draft.
He's out of Saskatchewan, isn't he? He's
He
from out
is
there.
out of Saskatoon,
No,
Saskatchewan, for those of you who are
Saskatoon. Okay.
into the Guess Who.
Yes.
He's running back to Saskatoon at the end of the season. He played for the Rockford Ice Hogs in the AHL for part of a season and then looks like almost a full season. Got in one game with the Blackhawks and then 21, it was his breakout year. He had 55 games with the Blackhawks. He had 21 goals, 16 assists, got traded to the Lightning, and it's been a over 25 goal scorer since.
Yep. Yep.
And it this year was over a point a game.
And I watch him a lot because he's one of my favorite players on that team, and he's
He's
really his
six.
line
He's
is
just
always
over. He's six. He's just over 6 foot, 180 pounds. So he's not a huge guy, but
he's tough, but he's
plays a
tough.
man's game.
He will not
Well,
back down
I
to
shouldn't say
anybody.
man's game. He plays a tough game.
Yeah.
Uh, he and another thing, which is something that we have an issue with, which is staying healthy. In 22, he played 81 games. 23, he played 82 games. 24, he played 82 games. What did Josh say? Josh Allen, one of your greatest abilities is availability, and he is
Funny you said that.
available.
I was just thinking of
Thinking
that
that
before you said it.
anytime I hear about injuries, I say that.
'Cause I think, and they were talking about that last season on Good Morning Football too, with ex-players, that your job is to stay on the field or on the ice or on the
Don't put your,
court.
yep.
And yeah, there's injuries that you can't avoid. We all know that.
There is
But
random stuff, but there's
there's
also
a lot
stuff
of
that
stuff that I
you
don't
can
know.
probably avoid.
You got to figure out how to avoid it, or you got to be able to get back sooner than later. And there's always the adage, in my coaching time, we always told our players, you will never. I'm talking about football players now.
Hmm.
We told them we will never, ever expect you to play injured, but you're going to have to play hurt. You're going to have bumps and bruises and what have you. That's just part of the game.
There's a difference,
And there's a difference. Yes.
and we don't play with head injuries.
No, exactly.
You only get one brain.
Hockey players go a little bit
Yeah.
overboard here.
Yeah, it's
Way
because when they
many.
get eliminated, we find out, okay, who played with cracked leg bone, who played with
The
three
year
broken
the
ribs, who played
not
with
that not that I'm a fan, but the year before when the Panthers were in the Cup final in what was it 23? They what's his name played with a cracked clavicle or
ugh.
sternum, excuse me.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And
Who was it?
he played the last couple games with that. So
Who was it?
Matt Matt Tkachuk.
Ugh. God, I
Yeah,
can't even imagine what that must feel
he had a
like.
cracked a cracked
Sternum.
clavicle,
Clavicle
sternum.
would be different.
Yeah, he had
That would be difficult too, playing
sternum.
hockey. But uh,
But just playing hockey with that, every time you get hit, you're going to feel it.
every
So
time you
for a
take a
guy to do
breath,
that, that's a little over and above.
every time you breathe.
Exactly.
How
Yeah.
often do you breathe?
A
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And
So I,
competition probably at least 10 or 15 times a minute.
yeah.
You know,
But back to the Sabres, they just are really lacking in, seems like mental toughness, but I don't even know at this point. You probably watched them more than I did, so you might have a better idea. They've got, when we were talking earlier today, it just feels like they've got part of an NHL team, and there's still pieces missing that we didn't think were missing at the beginning of the season. And then, all of a sudden, Jack Quinn doesn't really do much this season, and he still doesn't look like he's right from that injury he sustained the year before.
yeah. I
You know, we saw Dylan Cousins just kind of fall off a cliff and then end up getting
and
shipped out.
I don't know if you saw him. Well, you said you didn't watch much hockey, so you probably didn't watch
Oh.
any of the Ottawa Toronto series.
Now I heard it was
He was not
contentious.
much of a factor.
That's disappointing.
He had a couple decent shifts. I
I'm
don't believe, I don't think he scored a goal. He had assists, but he didn't. I don't think he had scored a
I'm
goal.
concerned that he got his bell rung and he's never been the same since.
That could be. It happened
I
to.
That happened to him.
I remember
Remember
Connolly had that same issue.
he got in a fight though. I
Yeah.
think it was Cousins got in a fight.
It was after the fight.
Yeah, I just
So,
you don't. I don't know. I hope he just figures it out for his sake, but and that it's not something like that. But he just has not looked the same. Yeah, there was a time for 3 weeks where Tim Conley was the best player in the NHL, 19 or in 2006, briefly. But I liked the first line. Like, well, actually, this is the last thing I'll bring up. I think we talked a couple weeks ago, and I had seen that statistic where it was like five, the highest scoring line at 5v5
right. Yeah, that
goals
was
per
shocker.
60 minutes.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's the Thompson, Kulik, Paterka line by a lot,
Hmm. Yeah.
by like almost a full goal over McDavid, Draisaitl, and what a backpack.
Yeah.
But whoever, um, I was shocked by that to see that they were that much higher than who I kind of think is the.
I couldn't believe that when you gave me that stat. That's unbelievable.
And like fourth was like another that I would have thought would have been light years beyond us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can't put other lines together. We
We
can't put
can't do
full
that.
lines
We can't.
together.
We still don't
We
have.
don't
I
have a
still
goaltender.
don't think we
Don't have a
have
real goalie. We don't have a
that
goalie yet.
shutdown goalie. Yeah, we need that shutdown goalie.
I'm hoping Levi can make the jump, but like, why do we keep like hoping for that?
Well, I know we gotta have. It's gotta happen. He's got these prospects have to start to.
No, but I'm saying like, why don't we bring someone else in too, just in case it doesn't? So we don't
Uh,
crap an entire year away again.
he's had, as I said, he's had what? How long has he been our GM? 5 seasons. This is his fourth or fifth season. He's had that long to bring in a goalie, and he hasn't. So I don't know what I don't know what the
Well,
plan is. I
the good
really don't.
thing for Devin Levi is he is in the playoffs right now with the Hammers.
I guess he's doing pretty good too. I
Doing
guess
pretty
he's doing
good.
pretty
He's
amazing.
got a 2.2 goals against, and he's a 919, so almost a 92% save percentage on
Right.
over 1,000 shots. Um,
Well, that's good. That's
that's
really
good.
good.
Yeah. He was 25, 13, and 4 this year. So they're pretty good down there.
And they're good.
And he had just a few games with us, but the team in front of him. I don't know what the team in front of him looked like because it was earlier in the season
Hmm.
during that huge losing streak. They might have looked like a flaming pile of garbage. So, hopefully he can bring that in the playoffs. He's played 4 games. His save percentage is 944.
Okay.
But,
Well,
that's only 4 games.
yeah.
But he is 3-1 in those games. So fingers crossed that. Well, I hope we just bring somebody else in because I just don't know that UPL is the answer. He's too up and down to be a starter, in my opinion. He's a backup.
Well, we're getting to the critical point where this team must
Do
make the
something or they need to blow it up again.
because again, I don't know what how Pagula's doing this because he can't be making money in a building that has empty seats
And you're paying how many people that you've let go
and you're paying people
still?
you're paying coaches that you let
Paying
go
coaches that
and
aren't coaching.
players. And let's face it, you even if you've got the ticket revenue, the
Hmm?
people aren't in the building, so you're not selling as many concessions and food and what have you that
What
you
do I
want to
have?
do.
What's going to bring me into the building other than winning right now?
Got to
Nothing.
win. You got to win.
You
That's
had an
the way
entertaining
it is.
team a couple seasons ago, and you still didn't make the playoffs with it.
Right.
So, you got anything else you want to touch on?
Well, I think we covered a lot tonight.
I
This
think
was
so.
fun.
Hmm.
Gonna do it again. So
Yeah.
we we'll see what our next show will bring us. What we're gonna do next.
Yeah, we will discuss. Let me,
Discuss that off camera, what we could
yep.
do, and got a lot of ideas and a lot of interesting topics.
And scene.